When we hear the word grief, most of us think about death, death of a loved one. We think that is the only thing that is worth grieving for. Grief comes in so many ways. I've personally had to grieve parts of myself which I've never got to become. Guys, in this life, we dream, we pray, we work hard to become, better people who will be respected in the community. And that doesn't happen. So what do? You grieve. You allow yourself to feel. You cry whenever that thing comes back to mind. I've also had to grieve relationships. Some of those relationships which never even gave me closure. I had to grieve them. I think that was one of the hardest things to ever do in life, because the other person didn't even give you closure. They never told you what the issue was. But I've also found myself in those kinds of situations, in relationships and friendships as well. It's painful, guys, but it's very important for us to realize how important it is to grieve those relationships. Hi, Dumelang. Welcome back to Healing the Inner Child with Mami Ngalai. Today, I want to talk about the grief we don't allow ourselves to experience. We don't name the grief that we find it hard for ourselves to open up about. Guys, it's okay to be disappointed. It's not nice, yes, but it is important for all of us to grieve lost relationships. Just because you're a good person towards this kind of person who didn't appreciate that doesn't mean you're not supposed to grieve the relationship, because it wasn't your fault. And you grieving doesn't mean you're doing it for them, but you're doing it for yourself. Point number one, I think we need to understand grief. Grief of a failed relationship, grief of losing a loved one through death, grief of a failed friendship, grief of a failed career, grief of a version that you had hope that you'd become but never did. Point number two, I think the reason why we struggle with grief is because we move on too quickly, because we're not comfortable to feeling our emotions, our feelings, to allowing ourselves to go through all the process of healing, of being a mess. Because guys, when you grieve, you become a mess. Grief is messy. Also because we are taught to be strong. Be strong. There's a reason why this and that had to happen. In as much as maybe you might understand why whatever had to happen, but that shouldn't take away the fact that you need to feel, you need to grieve whatever that thing is, whatever you've lost. Guys, we also need to stop telling people to be strong during their grieving moments. We need to allow people to feel whatever it is that they're feeling, so that when they heal, they can heal fully. This thing of telling people you are strong and we know you'll get through it, I think we also need to stop doing that, because people find it hard to grieve because they're told that they're strong. They're told that this happened for a reason. Yes, it might have happened for a reason, but that doesn't take away the pain that the other person is feeling. So I think we need to refrain from using such terms, especially during such moments. Another thing, I think, is because we don't like being uncomfortable. When a person is grieving, or when you are grieving, you don't want to appear as a burden. You don't want to become a burden to other people. As a result, you don't allow yourself to fully feel whatever it is that you're feeling, in emotions, whatever it is that you've lost, so that you can fully heal. But first, remember, in order for a person to fully heal, they need to accept what has happened. You cannot think that you fully healed when you try to avoid the issue. Avoiding the issue means that you haven't really accepted that it happened. So guys, we need to stop trying to minimize some of the things that you go through in life. Some of the things that you go through life are really painful, and we need to grieve them so that we can fully heal. Another point, I think, I speak as a Christian woman. Most Christians, especially when you are grieving a loved one who has passed on, most Christians tend to tell you as an individual that's grieving that do not cry as if you don't believe, you're not a believer, this and that. Guys, no. There's a verse in the Bible where we are told that Jesus wept. He had emotions, he had feelings, so he wept. Why am I not supposed to weep? It doesn't make sense. So Christianity, we need to stop this thing of minimizing people's pains. Just because a person feels this way, they cry, they do this and that as a way of relieving the pain or of grieving. As long as they're not hurting the next person, or they're not hitting themselves, or they're not doing anything that is out of character, I think we need to allow those people to grieve, to allow themselves to go through whatever that they've experienced. It doesn't mean they're not true believers just because they're grieving. So let's stop minimizing people's pain. Point number 3, grief isn't linear, guys. Guys, I'm just gonna bring something that is very personal to me. The loss of my parents. My dad died in 2005 and my mom in 2006. But every now and then I still have those moments. Sometimes it's because I just think and I wish that they were around. Like when I achieve something in life and I'm like, I so wish my parents were here. I so wish they could experience this moment with me. That doesn't mean I haven't accepted that they've passed on. You can imagine, this is years later, and yet that still happens to me. So I think we also need to have grace and empathy for ourselves. This thing called grief isn't linear. Today you're well, and then the next thing you realize that you're not. Also in failed relationship, especially romantic relationships, there are moments where I sit and think about exes who have wronged me, like bruh, I was just trying to be a genuine person to you. Did you really have to do that? Like, I didn't deserve what you made me go through. Like, I was only trying to love you, and yet what you gave me in return was just uncalled for. Like, really? You really have to do me that dirty? So it happens, and that doesn't mean I still want those people back, but it does happen. Like, I didn't deserve that. That person did me that. Even in friendships, it does happen. So it shows that just because you're grieving doesn't mean you should be okay all the time, every time. And whenever you're reminded of a past event, you shouldn't allow yourself to feel your emotions. No, feel them, guys. If you have to cry, cry. Cry. And then move on. Point number 5, I think the one thing that grief teaches us the most is what's really important to us. I don't think you'll feel the need to grieve something that didn't really mean a lot to you. You understand? The moment that you find yourself grieving something, it shows how important that thing was. And you should have compassion for yourself. Grief teaches us to also have empathy, be it for people who have wronged us or ourselves and the situation. Because you get to sit down, reflect, and realize that, yeah, I'm actually hurt. And if you are open-minded and you believe in forgiveness, you realize that People can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves. And then you'll allow yourself to grieve and get through whatever that may be. But it is important for all of us to grieve and to take lessons from our grieves, because they do teach us something about ourselves, about the world, about situations, about people. Point number 6, I think we should give ourselves permission to grieve. You're not a bad person. You're not a crybaby just because you're grieving over something that has hurt you, something that impacted you negatively. Maybe it's something that impacted you positively for the longest of time, but because maybe of the betrayal, because of losing the person, be it through death or a breakup or whatnot, it doesn't mean now you have to like shut down. It doesn't mean now you're not supposed to cry. Give yourself that space, that permission. And people don't really have to understand why you're grieving certain things. It's really none of their business. Your grief has nothing to do with them. So give yourself that space. Allow yourself to grieve. In conclusion, what's something that you haven't really allowed yourself to grieve? What is something that I haven't allowed myself to grieve? To be honest, I think my friendship with my ex best friend, I never really allowed myself to fully grieve that friendship. Yes, we were very close, guys. And then I got disappointed. It wasn't just, a single event, I feel like some people, I don't like people who like making everything about themselves. You show up for them, you're always there, you're always the present friend, but the moment you need them, the moment you voice out that you need them, I'm not saying I was quiet. I told them that I needed them at that particular moment, but they're not there. And then when they were ready, they come back and nothing had happened. I was really hurt because, like, bruh, no. And it was really hard for me to pretend as if everything is okay, because I feel like that's one of the things that she was expecting from me. Okay, now that I've said sorry, I've realized my mistakes, then can we please move on? But it wasn't that easy, bruh. I feel like sometimes people don't understand the pain that they inflict in others, like how deep that is. I think we need to become better, to do better, to become better friends, better partners, better human beings. Because, yeah, like even today, I don't hate her or anything like that. I don't have anything against her. But I sometimes just sit down and look back and I'm like, yeah, nah, people will hurt you. And I think that's one of the reasons why I think nowadays I'm not really a good friend. If there's one area in my life that I really, really need to work on, is being a good friend. I wouldn't really say I'm a bad friend or a horrible friend, but I need to be a better friend. Yes, I think that's the correct term. I need to be a better friend, a present friend. But I also think because of that experience, in a way, it stopped me from continuing believing in friendships fully so. Yes, I do believe in friendships, but I think to a certain extent I'm like, this is where it ends. This is where I draw the line. And unfortunately, that prevents me from experiencing my friends fully. Like, because maybe I still have that wall in front of me that I'm only going to be a good friend until here. And then when you are being a good friend, you go all out, you don't have to hold back anything. So I think I tend to shut people out, especially friends, just because I don't fully trust them. And I think I still need to heal from that experience with my ex-best friend. I know I don't talk a lot about this to the people who are close to me, but I think it still does impact me, to be honest. And yeah, I hope to fully heal from it someday and be a better friend to the current people that I have in my life, because I actually have like good friends. I have very good friends. I just need to be a good friend also to them. But I am working on it. I really am. So guys, that's the end of our episode for today. Yeah, man, I have emotions, Lena. As I'm recording this, I just have a lot of thoughts in my mind. This episode is kind of different. I don't know. Yeah, today it's but yeah, we'll be okay. And if this episode resonates with you, please do like, share, subscribe, and please share your experiences with grief. It might give hope to the next person who might see your comment. So until next time, thank you so much, guys. Bye bye.